You know that feeling, right? You get back from a vacation and you're exhausted. Like you need a vacation from your vacation. Well, today we're diving into a travel blog from a family who got tired of that exact problem. They decided to run a little experiment to find a better way to travel. So let's see what they found out. In this quote, wow, it just hits home, doesn't it? I mean, I think we've all been there. That feeling of just whirlwind travel. You're just ticking boxes off a list, snapping photos. But are you really experiencing the place? It all just becomes a blur.
So it really makes you ask, is this what a vacation is supposed to feel like? After a trip like that, you've got to wonder, what's the goal here? Is it just about collecting photos for Instagram, or is it about making real, lasting memories? It feels like the whole point of getting away just gets completely lost in that frantic race to see everything.
And that brings us to what the author calls the vacation burnout problem. He thinks back to a European trip they took, you know the kind, hopping between cities, sometimes staying just one single night in a place. And the result? Exactly that feeling we talked about, just passing through, never really connecting with any of it.
Okay, so they were determined to do things differently this time. The search for a new destination was on, and the criteria were pretty simple, safe and easy. It came down to two spots, South Korea or Western Australia. And you know what the tiebreaker was? Something pretty personal and, honestly, kind of relatable. The author just finds all those little dishes in Korean cuisine a bit overwhelming. So, Perth it was.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because this wasn't just going to be another trip. Oh no. This was a full-on, conscious experiment. They decided to make this Perth holiday the exact opposite of that last rushed disaster. This was going to be their experiment in slow travel. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's a total shift in mindset. The old way, that's the whirlwind tour we all know. Bouncing between destinations, those one-night stays, a jam-packed itinerary, and just constant travel. But the Perth experiment, totally different. One city, one hotel, a simple mission, take it nice and slow for 9 whole nights. We're talking about a complete 180 on how they travel.
9 nights. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. 9 nights in a row, in the same city, at the same hotel, the Novotel on Murray Street. This wasn't some tiny tweak to their plans. This was a full-blown commitment to a whole new way of seeing the world. So what did slow travel actually look like for them, day to day? Well, they had a few ground rules. First up, no driving. They were going to rely on public transport, ride-sharing, and just good old-fashioned walking. Second, a deep dive. The goal was to really get to know Perth and the area around it. And third, maybe the most important, flexibility. That meant starting days late if they wanted to, leaving tons of room for spontaneity, and just seeing where the day would take them. All right, so the experiment is officially on. Let's dig into what it was actually like to live at this new, slower pace. And their very first impression just totally shattered any idea they had of Perth being some sleepy little town. Get this, they land after midnight, roll up to their hotel at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning expecting total silence. But no, Murray Street was absolutely buzzing, packed with people dressed up and ready to party. What a start. And because they were taking it slow, they could actually soak in the city's vibe, not just race between landmarks, They had time to properly stroll along Elizabeth Quay, to get kind of lost exploring the enormous King's Park, to just wander through historic spots like London Court and the Fremantle Markets. They still saw a ton of stuff, but that frantic, rushed feeling was completely gone. And this is what it's all about. It's these little moments that a packed itinerary just doesn't have room for. Having the time to just sit down for a relaxed brunch at a coffee shop and try Vegemite for the first time ever. These are the simple, real experiences that you actually remember when you get home. Now, staying in one city doesn't mean you're stuck there, right? Of course not. Their whole slow travel approach actually left them with plenty of time for some amazing day trips. It really proves you can have a home base and still get out and explore. So they had enough breathing room to plan 3 really distinct excursions. Each one gave them a different taste of Western Australia. They had an island adventure to Rottnest, a wildlife day at Caversham Park, and even a food and wine tour through Swan Valley. First up was Rottnest Island. If you don't know it, it's famous for one thing, the quokka. That animal that looks like it's always smiling. Arguably the world's happiest animal. So yeah, this was a total must-do, and they gave it a whole day. And I love this detail. It just brings the whole thing to life. It wasn't like they just saw a quokka from far away. Nope, these little guys were everywhere. There was even one chilling under their table while they were eating pizza for lunch. I mean, you just can't make that stuff up.
And their other adventures were just as cool. They hit up Caversham Wildlife Park, got up close with marsupials and other animals, and even had the bonus thrill of spotting wild kangaroos right outside the park entrance. Then they took a trip with a cousin to Swan Valley for a totally different vibe. We're talking wine tasting at Sandalford Estate and, of course, a stop at the Margaret River Chocolate Company. Yes, please.
Okay, so after 9 days, all these experiences, and this one big experiment, what was the final verdict? Did slowing down, like radically slowing down, actually work?
Well, the author admits that before they left, he was a little skeptical, and so was an acquaintance of his. I mean, the usual thinking is that 9 days is way too long for just one city like Perth, right? There was a real worry that they might just get bored.
But the result? A total success. That initial doubt just melted away. And what was left was a really simple but powerful feeling. It was a very, very enjoyable experience. The experiment absolutely paid off. So, why did it work so well? Looking back, the author figures a few things came together. Perth's pace is just naturally slower than Singapore, so it was a great fit. The cool winter weather also just made you want to relax. But the biggest thing? It was just such a massive change from their usually crazy, hurried lifestyle. This trip proved to them that slowing down isn't just some nice idea. It might actually be the whole key to a vacation that's enjoyable and, actually feels like a break.
And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? When you see how this family swapped vacation burnout for actual enjoyment, you kind of have to ask yourself, is my next trip maybe due for a slowdown too?